So we have some more Chapter 2 problems, solving, and checking equations. So we're on 2.2, Part 1. We're on number 9 now. So we have 3 times 2x plus 5 equals negative 9. First thing you want to do is simplify each side. So I need to do the distributive property here on the left. So I have to do 3 times 2x, which is 6x, plus 3 times 5, which is 15. So I've simplified the left-hand side. Make sure you don't try to multiply 3 times negative 9, because on the right-hand side is just the number negative 9. All right, so now we've got the variables and constants on the left and a constant on the right. So we want to subtract 15 from both sides so that we only have a 6x on the left-hand side of the equation. So we have 6x equals, and be careful with your positive and negative numbers here, negative 9 plus negative 15 is negative 24. All right, so now we've got 6x equals negative 24. We could divide by 6 to finally get the answer of negative 4. So that's the answer, and if it's correct, we could write it as a solution set by putting it in braces. All right, now we want to check. Now when you check, you do not do the distributive property. You do order of operations. There's no need for the distributive property because the distributive property is needed when you have variables. In the order of operations, you just simplify using the order of operations inside the parentheses. So inside the parentheses, I have to do 2 times negative 4 first because that's the multiplication. And I have to still simplify by adding the negative 8 plus 5 in parentheses. So I've simplified inside the parentheses. All that's left to do is multiply 3 times negative 3, which is negative 9. And the right-hand side is just negative 9. So it checks. Number 10, we have negative 3x minus 1/3 equals 11/3. You could use the method of multiplying both sides by 3 to eliminate fractions. So that's one method. But in this case, I kind of look ahead and notice if I just add 1/3 to both sides, I won't even have any fractions anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just realize there's more than one way, and usually many ways, to solve any given equation. So we have negative 3x equals, all right, let's do this. 11/3 plus 1/3 is 12/3. But 12/3 is 4. So this is really just negative 3x equals 4 when all is said and done. So now we have to divide by negative 3 to solve for x, so that I get x equals negative 4/3. Don't leave your minus sign in the denominator. Just put it out in front, or you can put it in the numerator. So if this is correct, the solution set using braces would be negative 4/3. All right, let's see if it's correct. So we're going to plug in negative 4/3 for x, and there's only one place that there's an x, right? Now we have to do the order of operations. So I multiplied the negative 3 times negative 4/3. And notice the 3's cancel. How very nice and convenient. So you could do that, right? But then you're going to have to subtract 1/3. So you're going to have to go back and get a common denominator. So it really doesn't pay to, when you multiply, cancel the 3's. Okay? So let's not do that. And instead, if you do it, that's all right. You'll go back and rewrite it. So instead, we're just going to write that as a negative times a negative is 12/3 minus 1/3. And now I have a common denominator, which is 11/3. The answer is 11/3, 12/3 minus 1/3. And on the right side, there's 11/3. So if you did write 4 minus 1/3, you could change 4 back to 12/3. That's one way of doing it. And there's other ways to get 11/3. So that is number 10. All right, going on to number 11. You have 7x minus 5 equals 10. So we want to isolate the 7x, so we add 5 to both sides so that we just get 7x equals 15. And divide by 7, So x equals 15/7. All right, well, you know, sometimes your answer is a fraction. You know, fractions are numbers too. Equal opportunity. So we happen to have a fraction for an answer. That doesn't mean it's wrong. A lot of people think if they get a fraction for an answer, it's wrong. No reason why it shouldn't be that. Now let's check it. If we go over here and plug in 15/7 for x, I have 15 minus 5. See, look at how nice. The 7's cancel. Just have 15. Minus 5 is 10. The check's pretty easy. Even though the answer was a fraction, it wasn't so bad to check. All right, here's another problem that has fractions. And again, you could do the problem by multiplying both sides by the least common denominator to eliminate fractions. But I'm not going to do that because these already have a common denominator, so subtracting really isn't so bad. We have 2/11 minus 13/11 for the coefficients. So I know it's going to be negative, and that'll just be a negative 11 over 11 m equals 3, which is just negative 1. So it's really just negative 1m, or negative m, equals 3. And if the opposite of m is 3, then m equals negative 3. Remember, you could just take the opposite of both sides, or multiply both sides by negative 1, or divide both sides by negative 1. And no matter how you do it, you have to end up with m equals negative 3. So let's go over here and plug in negative 3. So we have 2/11 times negative 3 minus 13/11 times negative 3. Now, when I'm checking, you take the exact problem as it started out and plug in the numbers. You don't write that as negative 11, negative 11, 11's m, etc. You don't simplify it. So what do we have here? I need to do both multiplications here. So this is negative 6/11. And here I have a minus sign times another minus sign, so that's going to be plus. And 13 times 3 is 39/11. And so we have a common denominator of 11s. Negative 6 plus 39 is positive 33. And 33 divided by 11 is 3. So it checks. So doing this problem, you sort of are getting practice with your fractions, aren't you? Now, you could do, this problem by multiplying both sides of the equation by 11 first. And I'm going to go ahead and do that just because I have a little room on this video. But it's up to you whether or not you do it this way I've shown you or any other number of ways. As long as you're using properties of equations, you're going to be okay. Okay, so here's an alternate way if you didn't want to just subtract to begin with. You could go ahead and multiply both sides of the equation by 11. So I'm just going to do it like this. I'm going to multiply each term on both sides by 11. All right, so when I do 11 times 2/11's m minus an 11 times 13/11's m equals 11 times 3, my 11's cancel and my 11's cancel so that I end up with 2m minus 13m equals 33. Because it's multiplication, better write that as times. So I get negative 11m equals 33. Divide both sides by negative 11. And once again, you're going to get negative 3, which is what we got doing it the first way I did it. In case you're interested, I'm going to do the same thing for number 10, which I told you the other way you could have done this is multiply both sides of the equation by the least common denominator. And in this case, the least common denominator would be 3. So I multiply by 3 on every term on both sides. So we have 3 times negative 3x minus 3 times 1/3 equals 3 times 11/3. So I get negative 9x minus, here the 3's cancel, so you just have 1. And here the 3's cancel, so I just get 11. So then we would add 1 to both sides. and get negative 9x equals 12. Divide both sides by negative 9 and reduce that. So 3 goes into both numbers, you get negative 4/3. That's the same answer we got doing number 10 the other way. This was how we did number 10 the first way, where we just didn't multiply by the least common denominator, and we still got x equals negative 4/3. So a couple different options at least for doing the problems with fractions.